Okay, so welcome everybody to today's presentation. Just a couple of things as we get started. If you could just put yourselves on mute as the presentation is going on, and then feel free, you could unmute yourself and ask any questions that you have, or if you feel more comfortable and want to use the text chat, you could do that, and I could let David know that there's some questions in there. No problem, Caroline. And anyways, I just wanted to just make one announcement, just a parallel announcement, that if anybody is new on here to Paro and wanted to find out more information, just send me a message in the chat, and we could talk and set you up with a business counselor. Also, if you're looking for money, there is a women's, we're a partner with the WEOC loan fund. So if you're looking for, it's a loan up to $50,000, and it covers a wide range of items. So if you would like more information about that too, there is a webinar right after at 12:15. I could send you the link, so you could send me a message, or send me a message if you just wanted to get more information. So anyways, I just wanted to welcome back David Cohen and I'll let him introduce Tracy. And I wanted to say thank you, Tracy, for coming in today. We really appreciate this, and we're really excited about this topic. So I will hand it over to both of you.
Thanks. Thank you, Lori, and thank you everybody that's here today. And I'm proud to introduce our guest. Tracy Shea Porter is the CEO and co-founder of Yes Unlimited. And as an entrepreneur, facilitator, improviser, speaker, and writer, she designs and facilitates effective improv workshops and events, helping leaders and teams communicate better. Tracy works with leaders across North America to develop strategic experiential events that are based on research, business objectives, and key messages. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree with a distinction from University of Toronto, and is a member of AIN, the Applied Improvisation Network. Tracy is also a mentor with the University of Toronto's Backpack to Briefcase Next Steps program. And her recent clients include Accenture, HSBC, Toastmasters, CAMH, Constellation Software, and Perseus Group, Great Place to Work Canada, The Source, Whitby Chamber of Commerce, and the University of Toronto. And also, she's working on her new book, which is coming out soon, right? You're pretty proud of that so far.
Again, very excited, yes.
Yeah, for sure. So for those of us with us today, Paolo, Helen, Amanda, Caroline, Lori, we're going to get you involved today, okay? No holding back. We're going to just go full out. So we're actually going to talk about the benefits today of improv and how it can help you in your business and just in life in general with relationships. Plus, we're going to be doing some improv exercises, so get ready to participate, learn, and ask questions when prompted. So let's welcome Tracy. Yay!
Hello.
Am I okay to ask a question first, Trace?
Well, I thought we could actually ask, with a small group like this, it comes to mind for me that this is an entrepreneurial focus, correct? A business focus. We're looking at. So I feel like we can have a few questions, and I'd like to give a little bit about my background. And in addition to talking about improv, invite you to talk to me about my life and world as a business leader, and how I grew, through the years into this role, because I think I can really help when we talk about business development as well as how improv supports it all.
Yeah, for sure. So let me get started, because I got good questions for you today. In business today, it's not unusual for us to say no or decline an offer. And it is saying no, which is, it's fine, right? Sometimes you have to say no just for self-preservation, but it's okay so to say no, but sometimes saying no can really limit us. Or we could be closing ourselves off to opportunities and possibilities and relationships with clients and people that we just don't even know enough yet. So how does studying improv, Tracy, help us be open to offers and opportunities on a continual basis? And welcome, Zonia.
Hello, Zonia, Caroline, Amanda, Helen, Halo, Lovely to meet you all. And of course, Lori, who I met right at the beginning. Nice to meet you all. And please feel free to put in chat where you're from. I'm currently living in Toronto. However, I've lived all over Canada. I want to answer your question with a story, David. And I want to mention that, my mother, the roots of us in Ontario, my mother was one of 18 children. She grew up in a family of lumberjacks in rural Ontario. And I spent quite a bit of time, in all kinds of interesting scenarios with the roots of Canada. And I just want to mention that up front, because Canada is such a unique and beautiful place. And we really have interesting roots, just a generation or two behind us. And here we are. So what happened with me is, and this story is going to focus on how I said yes instead of no at times through my journey, because I love that question. What happened to me was my mother actually was a person who worked, at a time when women weren't working as much in the 50s and 60s. And what happened is she modeled kind of, a world where I would work too. So I started working around the age of 17, and I also got involved with improv at the same time. And the reason I mention this is because my improv life and my working life marched side by side all the way to where I am now. And, when you get into an improv class, and by the way, who here has done improv? Just raise your hand or put it in the chat if you have. And if you have not, that just, don't worry, you're in a safe space with me. And I'm not going to be turning you into actors or performance artists today. So rest assured, you're going to be well taken care of. So basically, I started working at a very young age and going to improv and school. I was doing all these things at once. And improv, the foundation principle of improv is yes and. Okay. And what yes and means is that we listen to each other. We say yes and. So for example, we don't have to agree, by the way. And that's an important point. For example, we might have two different points of view. We're going to do an exercise later about this. And one point of view could be, I like cats or I like dogs. And so if we were having a back and forth about that, we wouldn't fight about it, get into an argument about it. We'd listen to each other. And that's the beauty of improv, listening, active listening. And we'd say, acknowledge, oh, you like dogs. Well, here's what I have to say about cats and so forth. So while I was a young person taking improv, and at this time, I was doing some performing, I was learning the power of yes and, active listening, collaboration, back and forth techniques that we'll get into a little deeper. And I was also in the business world, mainly in communications, marketing, sales. And I worked for companies like Telemedia Publishing, Bell Canada for years. I was in Bell Canada doing corporate and public relations, all kinds of communications jobs. Worked with school boards across Ontario. And as I went along, I saw myself, and you might relate to this, I saw myself as a corporate person working in a job. And, it wasn't until I was about in my 30s where, I started to see that, working in the corporate world, I was, often offered packages at certain times because, the company wasn't making enough money, and there's a lot of focus on revenue. And what happened to me is I tried something called, you might be aware of it, cold calling, right? For fun, by the way. And I started cold calling, and a company in Kentucky liked my voicemail message, the female leader of a company, by the way, and flew me to Kentucky and hired me to create a program for her whole company. And that was my first huge client. By the way, that was 2007. And I started a company where I was cold calling. And by the way, I want to say that improv supported me all the way along because I said yes. I said yes, and to getting on that airplane, it seemed fearful. I was terrified. You can imagine, right? I was like a corporate person, and I took this huge leap and said, yes, yeah, I'm going to get on the airplane, go to Kentucky. I don't fully know what I'm doing. And this is an important point about not fully knowing what you're doing, because it's about kind of taking risk. Improv teaches you to take risk. And there's risk has some reward because you start walking a path and the pathway opens to you. So I became an entrepreneur this way, started my own company because this lady liked my voicemail. And from there, did cold calling, brought all my performer friends in. You know, we did script writing, cold called for technology companies across North America. And by 2014-15, in fact, I had a second company now, which is Yes Unlimited. And I started doing improv training for corporate. So all this, everything that I was doing led me to becoming an entrepreneur. I said yes and to myself. I became my own CEO and co-founder of this great company we have now. And we've worked with Chanel, Kraft, the University of Toronto, certainly currently working with the local government. So we work with all kinds of people, and it's all about yes, sometimes as an entrepreneur and also as a leader.
Yeah,
instead of
but
no.
improv doesn't really work. Like the art of improv and the studying of improv doesn't work, Tracy, if there's not that exchange or give and take.
Right.
Because it takes that, right, for improv to work. And as you allude to your sales background, as well as like your corporate background and sales background, sort of, neck and neck with your improv work, in some cases, when we're meeting a client or a prospect or cold calling, that's difficult, right? And so when we're doing that for the first time, we're tight. We're not sure what to say. So how did improv help you in your process? And how does improv leave clues, again, not only to be open, but not to try so hard and be in the flow, be in the moment, be in that yes and state?
Right. That's a beautiful point and segue to how improv informed me to be a give and take person, to be an improvisational leader. So improv trains your brain, and a lot of us, all of us, need to work on opening and getting flexible. It's a practice. It's a practice like, say, yoga or anything else that you do. Improv trains your brain to be more open and collaborative. And the reason is, when you're doing an improv scene, and it translates beautifully into corporate life as well, when you're doing an improv scene, you have to be really present and listen and engage, because you really can't be anywhere else when you're doing improv. When you're listening to someone and instead you're thinking about the thing that you're going to do later, you maybe have a problem in your life, or you're going to be making dinner or whatever it is, and you're not fully engaged and listening. When you're doing improv, you have to be fully engaged and listening, because you need to respond to what the other person's saying. And so in effect, when I talk about training the brain, your brain actually, and there's a lot of science and studies behind this, and I have a lot of research on this, by the way, that your brain actually starts to respond in a way where it gets more flexible. And so, like I said, I want to keep going back to, you don't have to agree. However, you get into a give and take where you're acknowledging each other now, instead of having this push-pull fight. And this acknowledging and back and forth, when you're working in the business world, whether you're an entrepreneurial leader or have a position, you show up as a more flexible person, and you can impact all the other people around you. And that definitely happens to me. I show up in a certain way, and it's kind of an energy people want to have. It's a positive energy. So this positivity is contagious, and you start to want to mirror and behave in a more open and receptive way.
Yeah. What do you notice when you work with your clients? Yeah. When they're in that yes and flow state and not pushing too hard to be something or someone, what shows up with your clients? Right. And I've got a group, before you answer that, I want to welcome Sephora, Kylie, and MC.
Thanks for that question. The first thing I want to say is, many of you have heard of improv, and please throw it in the chat if you want, or, when you think about improv, what do you think about? I'm sure what comes up for you is, Second City, Whose Line Is It Anyway? Saturday Night Live. When you think about improv, you think about performance and sketch comedy. And the first thing I want to say as I answer that question is, the type of performance that you see actually has principles behind it that translate beautifully to team building, leadership skills, and corporate training. So the type of improv we're talking about today is called applied improvisation. And you can easily look that up later. I certainly have a lot of information about it as well. So applied improvisation is taking these techniques of yes and that I mentioned, where you stay open and give and receive information. And it also takes techniques of active listening and presence and courage building, takes these techniques, and we do exercises that are experiential, which we'll do a few examples for you.
Yeah.
However, it's not performance improv. So this applied improvisation is, so I'll give you an example, because I was, when I worked with Chanel. So I went in to help 30 salespeople. They wanted to do some improv and role playing around customer facing skills for frontline people. So people in the store, right? People who are in the store working with customers. They wanted storytelling skills, because storytelling is a big part of improv, opening you up to being able to speak to the public more effectively, or in my case, cold calling more effectively. So applied improvisation, when we get in a room, we might get in a circle, or, online, we might be in a situation like we are right now. And what we do is exercises that don't teach you to be an actor. They're exercises that teach you to gain confidence, to build trust with one another, to build collaboration skills, to stay in the moment, those types of things, and to yes and one another.
So do we want to do a little round of maybe offer acceptance or
Right.
a little yes anding? Are we ready to do that? Is everybody ready on the call?
Well, you know what I'll do first, because some people, the first thing I want to say is this is a safe space. So if you do not want to participate, because some people have their cameras off, and sometimes that means that you don't want to participate. And I just want you to know, if that's the case, that's totally okay. You do not have to, you can watch, and you get a lot of benefits from watching as well.
Yeah.
If you do want to participate, so Helen and Palo, are you game to do a few exercises with me?
Sure.
Hello,
Okay.
yeah, you're ready?
Wonderful. And how about, if anyone else, please just put your name in the chat. Even if your camera's off, I can include you by voice. So if you just want to watch, I want you to know that's okay. Because I'm going to be calling on David as well. So, I have David, Helen, am I pronouncing Palo correctly?
Hello.
Palo?
Yeah.
Palo, Helen, David, and myself.
Move your hands.
So I see, I just want to see, Sephora's in.
Yeah.
Okay, Sephora, you're in. And the other thing is that, if you do not want to
I'll
participate.
participate.
Okay, great. So I've got Sephora, and just anyone else?
Just I have my hair not done and my face is kind
Is that you, Caroline?
of, yeah.
Your hair is better than mine.
Okay, just a minute and here, look.
So we've got, I just want to see who we got.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, this is the
I'm
first order of
baking right
business.
now.
First order of business. Okay, great. Lovely. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name right. Is it Caroline or Carolyn?
Caroline here.
Caroline, okay.
Yeah.
And so we have Sephora. Okay. So what I'd like to do, I want to number us, okay? So I'm going to make, we may not all see each other the same way. I'm going to just number the people who are presenting, and this will help us. You'll see in the games going forward for a minute. So David, can you add a number to your name, number 1?
Yeah, hang on.
And Palo, how about number 2? Do you all know how to rename your name? If
so.
not, it's the 3 dots in the top right there. You can just click on it.
Yeah,
Helen,
no,
number 3.
So I'm number 1.
Yeah. David, see how important it is to number ourselves? It's really easy to lose track and get confused. So David, number 1, Palo, so I should be able to see your numbers when I look at you. No? Oh, yeah, there you are. Number 1, number 2, Helen, number 3, Carolyn, number 4, Sephora, number 5. And for those who are watching and listening, anytime you say, hey, I decided I want to jump in and be a part of that, you just let me know and we're going to bring you in. And anytime you don't, we're going to work with that too. What I'd like to say about yeah, thank you, Amanda.
Tracy, how do I number myself?
You go into participants and you'll see your name. Like click on that, you'll see your name, and then where the camera is kind of thing, there's 3 dots.
I can do it for you, Sephora.
Okay,
Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
yeah. Thank you for being involved and, you know, trying a little courage building and
Yeah.
again, it'll be, one thing about improv is it's a low stakes way to get ready for higher stakes things. You know, the stakes are really low in a way because, you know, we're just here, improv's all about playfulness. Improv's all about play. So that's the first thing to know. It, you know, it invites laughter, it invites, you know, presence. And I'd like to do a little warm up with us. So whoever I see first, raise your hand. I'm just going to do a little warm up and show you how safe this is going to be. Anybody?
Oh, go for it.
I love that. Thank you for stepping up, Helen. I'm going to do a little warm up called What's in the Box before we get into, you know, yes and all those kinds of things. So what's in the box, Helen? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
And every time I ask you a question, you just give me whatever answer pops in, one word, whatever, 2 words, a phrase. And everyone else, after you answer the question, we're all going to cheer wildly, including people who want to, who are just listening in. Okay. And even if you're not, even if you're on mute, just cheer wildly. Okay. So Helen, my first question is, where do you live?
Vermilion Bay, Ontario.
Yeah.
Woo!
All right, let's make some noise for Helen. Okay, look at those claps. I love that. All right, Helen, and what's your favorite color?
Blue.
Blue. Oh my God.
Yay, I love blue.
Blue, the sky, the ocean. Yeah. Woo, look at all those claps. I love that. Okay, and Helen, where's the last place you traveled?
Mexico, I think.
Oh,
Mexico.
Mexico twice. Bet some of us have been there. Woohoo! All right, that's great. Now, Helen, I have something for you because I brought you a gift. Okay, it's in a box here. I'm just going to pass it over to you across the way here. So you got that box, okay?
Thank
And so, first of all, what color's the ribbon?
What color's the ribbon? Purple.
Yeah, purple. Yeah, all right. And how about the wrapping paper? What does that look like?
It's got flowers on it.
I love that. Flowers. What kind of flowers?
Probably sunflowers.
Sunflowers. Oh my gosh, my favorite too. All right, and so open the lid and tell me what's inside the box.
It's a stone.
It's a stone. Oh my God, stone. Like, right. That's the best thing ever. What kind of stone?
It's one with a face on it. Here, I'll show you.
I love that. A stone with a face on it. All right, so Helen, tell me, how did you feel participating in that exercise?
Fine.
Did it felt good, right? And you know, one thing about improv is you can feel what it feels like to be supported during an exercise like that, because improv is all about teamwork. It's a team skill. And so that's how we learn, where we want to have each other's backs, right? So improv is a safe space. We have each other's backs. When you practice improv, you learn to be more collaborative everywhere, because it's that playful sense of we're all in it together. And isn't that true of life? We're all in it together, right? All right, so the next exercise,
as we go along too, you know, in a way, you know, like, you know, I'll just share, like, had an idea for something that I shared the other day, and it came from my experiences, and it was one experience over here and another one's totally separate over here, and then I combine them. So you have to be open to experience, and Helen, I thought, was really open to the experience.
I loved it. It was
did too.
beautiful. And you all are. This is the other beautiful thing about improv. Failure is great. It's good to fail. We want to make mistakes. And we want to learn that making mistakes actually is the pathway to growth, right? So, you know, we have each other's backs. If we make a mistake, it's okay. And I just want to mention that in my life, I've learned that really, really well. Now I don't even worry if I make a mistake, because now I know I made a mistake, I learned from it, I'm growing, and the next time I'll just continue to build on that. And this is an important lesson, you know, because a lot of us have perfectionism, and it has to do with all the old scripts, you know, all the old narratives that we heard growing up. I know I have, you know, scripts around needing to get it right from school even, or different places that, you know, people we encountered as kids. So improv gets us into an unlearning, where we start to go, oh, you know, some of those old narratives, we can let them go and say, hey, you know what? It's okay to make a mistake. And in fact, it's good to grow. So, and the other thing I want to invite is, I love what David just said and talked about Helen. If you have any comments or questions, keep putting them in the chat because I'm watching the chat and I'm here for you, all you folks watching.
Yeah, I am too.
All right, so I have an exercise where all of us who are numbered are going to participate. And remember, if you decide you want to participate after watching a few, I'll bring you in. So we're going to go by number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'll always start. Okay, I'm going to be like the zero, ground, the kind of the zero kind of place. So what I'll do is I'll start each exercise, and then David will be next, Halo, Helen, Caroline, Sephora. Okay. And this is a simple warm up as well that really helps us bond and get present together, working together online. And it's very simple. What I want to do is I'm going to say, it's called word association. I'll say one word, whatever it is that I'm going to say. And David will say the next word that pops into his head based on what I said. And then Palo will say the word that pops into his head based on what David said. And then Helen, you'll base your word on what Palo said. Caroline, you'll base your word on what Helen said. And Sephora, you'll base your word on what Caroline said. And you don't need to judge your word, by the way, because you can't get it wrong. And don't pre-plan a word. Just really be within the moment. And we'll see what happens with flow energy here, because this is about flow and improv opening the mind to flow. And this is a warm-up that helps us get into the improv state of mind. And it's really simple. And, it'll be fun to see. We're just going to go around a few, and I'll stop and say a few words where we needed. So I'm just going to say a word, and we'll go around like that and we'll see how it goes. Okay. So, rabbit.
Paul.
Bonnie,
Oh, sorry, I've jumped ahead.
All right. Let's start over. And by the way, this is part of getting ready to communicate online, right? So again, we learn because communicating online is a little different than being in person. So we want to give that time and space to see, to figure out the lineup. That's why I numbered us and by the way, everything's great. You can never make a mistake in improv. Okay, so I'm going to start with another word. And one thing, try to be clear. And if you can't hear the person, say, I can't hear, and we'll keep going. That's okay too, by the way. Okay, so I'll start with a new word. House.
Work.
keeping,
Sorry, can you say that one again, Paula?
keeping,
Cleaning.
Housework.
Safety.
Beautiful. I'm just going to stop for a second. We're going to keep going in a minute. However, just see how interesting it is for our minds to have to come up with a word to respond to another word without thinking. Because that's kind of the point of improv, right? It kind of gets you out. You can't think. You have to stay present and be kind of responsive in the moment. And you can see that it is an exercise because you're all going to get really much, keep getting better at it in a few minutes. You see how fast and how quickly you'll grow with this exercise. And if you can't hear someone, don't worry about it because, we're online and it happens even when we're in person. So we're going to start again. And I loved how you asked, what did you say? And if you can't figure it out, you said something else. That's great. Say whatever comes to mind, even if you can't hear. All right, so let's try it again. And we're going to go through twice now and see what happens. Okay, so we're going to do it 2 times around. So I'll start with a new word. Tree.
House.
park,
Grass.
Is that my turn?
Yes, Caroline.
Summer.
Heat.
Feet. Okay, so I'll start. Oh, who was
Dawn.
that who peached in? Okay, so I'm going to bring it back to me for a sec. Oh, I see. Someone else spoke up. I was like, who was that? That was someone else who spoke up. You're welcome to speak up. Everyone's invited. Okay. All right, that was great. So
Improv for tots.
so what I want you to do is stay present here with me, and we're trying to go a little quicker. Okay, and don't think at all. Don't worry about what you're going to say. We just want to try a little quicker. Whatever word comes up, it's a good word. Okay, don't worry about it. And so keep an eye on these numbers, and we're going to move a little faster. Okay, So I'm going to say a word and then we'll try to just see what happens when we go faster. And we'll try to go through a couple times. I'll stop you when we're going to stop. Okay, so. Coat,
Hanger,
mentor,
Person.
Caroline,
People, person.
Annoyance.
judge,
Judy,
trouble,
Law.
School,
What?
school. To my
Children.
stairway,
Kevin,
top floor,
Elevator,
doors,
Open.
closed,
shot,
do not enter,
Welcome.
shopping,
Money.
cash,
mall,
bank,
Teller.
credit card,
Spending.
bank,
credit,
trust,
Money.
check,
What?
checks,
Phone.
school,
oh, yard,
can't
Oh.
hear you, Pat Pello, think you're on mute there.
I think he's on a call. Helen, you go.
Oh, I see, okay.
Oh, okay. You said yard, kids.
crying,
Tissue.
Problem. Okay, so we'll stop for a sec because we're going to try a new exercise in a minute. Well, okay, so you could see from the beginning of when we started this exercise, we started to get into a flow. We started to respond more quickly, right? And so that happens the more you do improv. And how does it feel? And any, talk, just I like to hear from the people who are in it, and feel free to put it in chat too if you want. How does it feel to do an exercise like that? And what do you have to do to make it work?
Can I go? Oh, can I go?
Of course, you're right.
Hopefully this
Yeah,
will open up the discussion.
yeah. Okay.
So I find, in business, when we're interacting maybe with clients or others, we feel we have to get it right, right? And so, we're rehearsed, we maybe do research ahead of time, or we're prepared. But in this exercise, you said that there was no right, there's no wrong. And so it felt freeing just to blurt out a word, whether it made sense or not. And what I noticed was, in some cases, somebody would blurt out a word and they would judge themselves. And it's like, so improv, I guess that exercise forces you not to judge yourself, that it's all good. What's your take? And
I
then,
love what you said. Please, anyone else, and then I'll say a few words. I love interaction. I love it. And also you don't have to talk. I just want you to know you can. That's the beauty of improv. Say, participate as you wish. Yes, Caroline.
I was trying to think up ahead, looking at the numbers, who's next, and see what kind of word I'm going to come up with. Like, see, just really watching if it's going to change subject, or like my mind is just going real fast. No improv there.
That's improv. That's improv. You're improvising. You did it. Thank you. That is improv. Yes.
Okay.
Can
Yeah.
I go ahead?
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It helps you to be more open and honest, because then you don't have the time to think, ahead of time. So it's, you know what I mean?
I love what you said, and it's absolutely right on. Yeah. You don't have time. You have to be present. And doesn't it feel good to be present? getting away from kind of our mind a little bit and just fully engaging.
Yeah, and Kylie writes in the chat, it doesn't give you time to think and just go with the flow of things, which is really what it's about.
It's beautiful.
And
Yeah,
make you listen.
I love that, Helen. Listening is one of the foundations of improv. Deep active listening. You know, I actually love this work, and I love working with everyone. I love working with you because I really feel so strongly about the power of listening, about being present, and how it helps us
so
in our lives.
I got a question about listening, because you know, that's another key concept, especially like when, you know, if in the improv games I've done. And then, you know, that's a key concept in improv is listening. But for me, in improv, it's you don't just listen with your ears, you're taking it all in. When you're doing scenes with a partner in an improv class or as a group, how do we then get out of our heads and really listen to what's being said verbally, physically, so that we can maybe build a scene, or in this case, interactions perhaps with our clients or our staff, our family, friends, stakeholders, whatever. Like, how do we really get out of our heads and really listen to what's being said verbally and physically? Because to me, improv isn't just audio, you're taking in everything.
Right. Well, the number one thing is that it's a practice and it's about doing it, right? So even the few minutes we've shared here together, you can see how you feel a little differently than when you came in. I can see that we've bonded and we're all we're on the alert, right? So improv, because you have to listen. And the reason you have to listen is because otherwise you won't hear that word and you won't be able to respond. So that is actually how improv makes us listen. It's because you're going to be up next. You're going to be up next. So you have to listen. So you can't be thinking of anything else. So one thing about these exercises is they make you listen. And the other thing is there's a nonverbal communication going on as well. So the way I'm moving and I'm looking and we're all looking and receptive with one another, I see a body language and a nonverbal communication that has heightened since we started doing that. It seems like a simple exercise, and you can see how deep and profound the teachings from it are. So simplicity, through simplicity of what seems easy,
So
look at
sorry,
all
Rebecca,
the
take
beauty
that
of it.
call.
Oh, no problem. In fact, if that happens, it's totally okay.
Yeah, so all right, I'm back.
So I'm going to now move us on to another exercise that we're going to do with our same numbered folks. Now I see that Sephora's taken a little break, so we can let her, we can do this. Oh, she's back.
She's back,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm smoking, so I didn't want to be insulting, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Okay.
how sweet. I get it. I smoked for a long time.
I'm
So-
here, so.
So you're going to participate? Okay.
Yes, I
Okay,
participate.
beautiful. All
Thanks,
right.
Sephora.
All right, so this is an exciting exercise that I'm going to do an exercise called no, but, and yes, and. Okay, so we're going to do that, and I also have a fun planned one after this, so hang in. Okay, so we talked about some of the principles of improv, and we've gotten as a group a little bit more cohesive, and that's what the warm-ups are meant to do. They're very important to do these warm-ups instead of just jumping into this exercise, because it brings you into that moment together. We're a little group here now, right? Okay, so with our same numbers, okay, we're going to tell a simple story, and believe me, I'm going to make it very easy for you. All you have to do is a few words or one line, no more than a few words or one line, okay? And I'm going to start the story, and at the start, and we're going to see, what happens when we start with no. Okay, we're just going to observe what happens when we start with no. So for example, I might say something like, Dave went to the store. And just to rehearse this a little bit with David would say no, before we get.
No, I went to the mall.
No, Dave went to the mall. Okay. So, and so each of us is going to say no and then say something else. Okay. So for example, we'll do it again, just to get you in on it again. So I might say, Barbara went to the park. David will say no. So always
no.
start with no.
I went to a bar instead.
Okay. So that's perfect. So no matter what, always start your line with the word no. Okay, and then whatever comes out. Okay, let's try that, and we're gonna get into it, and we'll see how that feels. We won't do this too long. We'll see how it feels. Okay, so I'll say, and I love what Kylie say. I used to play this game with my friends on long road trips. We came up with some wild stories. Isn't that the truth, Kylie? I have done that too, and it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. Okay, so I'm gonna say, okay, so no matter what, start your sentence with the word no, and we have all 5 of us here. Okay, so it's gonna be.
Do I reply and say no, and then do I start another story and then follow?
No, we're sticking with my story.
Okay,
But you say anything that comes to mind about it, right? But always start with no.
okay.
Okay. So, and we'll see how it goes. I'll step in where needed. Okay. So, Beth went shopping.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Beth went shopping.
No, they went to the racetrack.
Okay. And then Pela? No.
No, are you sure?
Always start with no. No.
No, are you sure?
Okay. Helen?
No, I think they went somewhere else.
Okay. Caroline?
No, they went shopping.
Great. Okay. And Sephora? No.
No, they went to emerge.
Okay, great. So that was really a great start because we all said no and we all said a different line. We're going to do it again though. Okay. So that was great. So we're just going to do it again. You got the picture, right? Sometimes you have to rehearse a little bit. So I'm going to say a new story and then we're going to just quickly say no something. Okay. Jill went skydiving.
No, she went backpacking.
Taylor?
No, she went to the hockey rink.
No, I think she went skydiving.
No, Jill went for a walk.
No, I think she cooked.
Okay. So we're gonna just stop with no for a minute because no doesn't feel great, right? In this scenario, no doesn't feel great. So tell me how you felt when you said no. What happened with the story?
It changed.
As soon as you say the word no, you hesitate.
Thank you. Yes, hesitation, absolutely. And also nothing progressed.
You're disagreeing.
Disagreeing, excellent, thank you. Disagreeing, hesitation. David, anything come up for you when you say
Yeah,
no?
maybe making somebody else wrong.
Making somebody else wrong, that's a great thing. And also no, there's no flow here. The story can't progress, okay? I want to say something about the word no, and I have this in my book that's going to be coming out later this year, which is no is a very important word. You know, I always say, no is an important word when you want to stop something, when you want to shut something down. No is no, the red stop sign that helps cars manage traffic. No is a critical word in our lives. However, no is not a great word for team building. Most of the time. Most of the time you want to, encourage people. If you say no, studies show if you keep saying no to people, they actually stop responding. They stop speaking up. In fact, it affects the brain. That's why I want to just do no for a minute, because no is a negative. It makes it, everything needs to stop and shut down, and I'm not going to participate anymore. So when you're working with people, teams, we're going to talk about improv and how it supports in the next one. So we're going to do our next story with David. You want to say something? Sure.
Yeah, just real quick. I think you're right. Like it does shut things down, Tracy.
Yeah.
And I know personally, like if I'm working with somebody and they say no too many times, I just, like I said, I write them off. And I don't ask them to participate or get involved in anything because I know them for being no. But they could reframe it and say, I would love to, or yes, I would love to. However, they could still say no. However, I'm busy that night, or I can't do it on that night. But
Right.
definitely ask me again. So you're saying no, but you're doing it in a way that's keeping the flow open.
And I love what you said, because no, you're talking about boundaries. Like no is really important when we're creating personal boundaries. No is really important when we need to protect our space and time. no is really important when someone's being offensive. No is a really important word. When you're working in an organization, when you're developing a team, when you're an entrepreneur and you want to work with clients, when I'm on the phone talking to customers, we're going to talk about what we're going to do next in a minute and how that might be a more collaborative way. Okay. And it is really important to address that no is an important word.
Yeah.
So in this case, though, no doesn't open us up to collaboration. No isn't a collaborative word. No is a shutting down word, right?
Can I say
And-
something?
Please do, Sephora.
Okay, if I hear no, I may go along with it like several times. Like if I hear no, like several times, I may go along with it. But I cut the person off, like the first opportunity I get,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So,
So it's not giving you a feeling of, of give and take. It's not giving you that. It's kind of like shutting things down.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That was a very helpful, way of seeing things. And so was yours, David,
Yeah.
because you can say no nicely to protect your boundaries. And that's totally effective. And it is a bit, you have to kind of, what happens when you're cold calling and get repeated no? I just keep moving on because I know, and I've gotten really good at that. This is Amanda asking me about cold calling. I have done a lot of cold calling, all business to business, by the way. So I don't call people at their homes. This is a business to business type of calling. And I guess the difference with business to business is we expect to call each other because that's what businesses are trying to work with each other. I just move on when I get no. I let them go. So basically they're shutting me down and I'm saying, I'm letting you go until I find the people who do want to talk to me.
I actually stop and ask. I probe the no.
You can probe the no.
I'll
Yes.
ask questions about it. Hey,
Thank
I
you
get
for
it.
that.
No. Like I get it's no. Is it no forever? Is it no right now? Are you using somebody? Are you happy? Would you be open to this maybe later on when it feels better for you? Right?
David is absolutely, that is, and yeah, I probe the no too. However, often the no means they don't want me, whatever I'm talking about. However,
Yeah.
David is absolutely right. It's good to have some probing questions if you're cold calling so that you understand the no.
Yeah. If it's
And-
really like
yeah.
a hard no or a
Yeah.
rude no, like I was sworn at once. I let that go.
There you go. So
I don't
thanks
want
for
to work
that.
with you.
Thanks for that question, Amanda. Thanks for that question. And David, it's true. So if I was teaching cold calling, which is another thing I do teach, I would dig deeper into how to deal with no's and how to deal with rejection.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next part, because right now I'm kind of talking about teams and collaboration. However, I'm open to talking about anything you want to talk about. This next story, we're going to use the word but. Okay, we're going to use the word but. So I'm going to start the story, and then David, you're going to say but something. Okay, so I'm going to say Kim got on her spaceship.
But took a wrong turn and went to the moon.
There you go. Okay, so we're going to do this in our same order. And I'm going to say a word, a line, and then now we're going to go ahead. Look how good we've gotten, right? Just in a few minutes. Look how good we are. We're in a flow state and we're all ready to, say the next line through our number. Okay. So I'm going to say, I like spaceship, actually. I'm going to stick with that. Okay. Jeff got on his spaceship.
But realized it was made by Tesla.
By what?
By Tesla.
But was looking for a Starbucks on the way up.
But missed his turn.
But I don't know, had a parachute.
Right?
But change his mind.
Okay, I'm going to stop for a sec. Beautiful. And you know what I love about that? Because, Caroline, what's nice is you're just being yourself, right? And you're just, I'm not sure what I want to say. I'm just going to say this, and same with Sephora. So the thing is that we don't want to judge ourselves, though. So what we want to do is let go of judgment, and whatever comes out is great. whatever we want to say, let's say it with confidence, just for this moment when we're here together. We're just going to say it with confidence and we're all in, just for fun, okay? So let's do but again, and then we'll get to the next one. So Kim went to the store.
But decided to go golfing instead.
But was looking for the beer cart right away.
But then it started raining.
But his friend brought some beer.
Because she went home later.
Okay, there we go. So we'll stop this exercise on the word but. It's a little bit better than no in terms of how we feel, right? However, do tell me how it feels to say but. Anyone who wants to
But
jump
gives you
in.
an opportunity to change the story immediately.
Okay, yeah,
You're participating, you're adding on.
okay.
It's
It-
easier
it-
than say no.
It's easier than saying no, okay,
Yeah. But
Kind
you're
of an
still not in the flow of it.
right, okay.
There's no
So
built-
everyone is right, and I love what everyone said. And here's what studies show about the word but, okay? And even when I'm writing, I tend to avoid the word but, because studies show, and I try to avoid the word, we often say it in our language, I try to avoid saying but as well. But negates what you said before. So for example, if I said Kim went to the store and David said, but she forgot her, but she meant to go to the moon or whatever. What David said by using but kind of negates what I said. So it is a little better than no. However, but is still not as strong a choice as the next one we're going to use. And the reason is it still creates that feeling of,
Negate mean?
say that, Caroline?
What does negate mean?
Okay, it means like a dismissive,
Oh, okay.
being dismissive. It's kind of like, I like what you had to say, but, I really think it's this, right? So when you're saying that in real life, it's kind of like, I'm dismissing what you said. Instead of acknowledging it, I'm being a little dismissive using the word but, because what I have to say is the thing we really want to pay, right? Please, David. Yeah.
And it kind of makes the other person wrong too, right? So, yeah. So we're gonna do it.
We'll get to the next one, which is, okay,
Yes.
so we're going to get to the next one, which is, this is the foundation principle of yes and. And if you were to look that up on Google, you'd see that Viola Spolin created yes and in the 1950s. So it's not new. And there's a worldwide group of improvisers doing the kind of work I'm doing. And I'm connected to them through, David introduced me as a member of AIM, Applied Improvisation Network. And we teach this non-performance improv for social skills, leadership skills, team building skills. So I love this exercise because we're going to see how it feels differently. Then we start with no, we went to but, and now we're going to do yes and, okay? And so every sentence we say yes and before we say the next words. So David and I'll just give an example. So I'll say, Jill got ready for work.
Yes, and she picked out a beautiful outfit.
Okay, so now you get the idea that we're going to yes and each other, and each sentence will start with yes and we'll go around for a bit until I stop you. We'll see how that feels. Yes and, okay. So I'll stick with that one. Jill got ready for work.
Yes, and she wore running shoes.
Yes, and but totally forgot her lunch.
Yes, and she did her hair beautifully.
Yes, and her shoes were so pretty.
Yes, and she put a very nice makeup on.
Okay, so I'm going to stop for 1 second because we had an interesting yes and but. And I want to mention that, Kayla, because that's actually beautiful. Thank you for saying yes and but. You know why? Because it's a great example. So, and she forgot her lunch, right? So that's an interesting aspect of the story that you created that's totally relevant. However, let's get but out of there and see what happens and just say yes and. Because it is our minds. Here's the thing about our minds, right? Our minds default to safety. Our minds default to let's be safe. We don't want to open this up. We want to stay in with all the things we know. And we're opening up to this kind of new flow. So let's not say but, we won't say no, only yes and see what happens. Okay. So everyone did amazing. So I'll start again, and we'll just go until I stop you. Kim went to school.
Yes, and she brought her backpack.
Yes, and forgot his watch.
Yes, and got there on time.
Yes, and she met her friend on the way.
Yes, and they had lunch together.
Yes, and then they decide to get in their spaceship.
Yes, and they went to Mars.
Yes, and looking for Tim Hortons on the way up.
Yes, and they sent home beautiful pictures.
Yes, and the beautiful pictures were of stars and planets.
Yes, and they fell asleep on the way home.
Yes, and they had a great outing for the day. Stop. End scene. All right, so let's talk about how it feels to say yes and instead of no or but. What happens in the story? Yeah, positive. Absolutely, Helen.
More collaborative, I felt like we're actually kind of building a story. I could actually see it in my mind, you know.
Absolutely. So we're with yes and there's a story developing and we're all in it together, we're building on what each other said, right?
Yeah, whereas the end, or the but, it stopped the story from developing.
And the two words yes and gives you an opportunity to say something more positive, not in a negative way.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. So here's for everyone on this call today, try saying yes and in your life. Try saying yes and in your life and see what happens. See what happens to your
Still say
conversation.
yes and no at the same time. Like you can
Yes, you can.
yes, and I'd love to, however, you know.
Yeah. So you're not shutting people down unless you, like I said, no can be very important at certain times. However, when you want to stay open, collaborative, when you want to build relationships with others, just kind of observe what you're saying. Make it kind of a practice. You know, am I saying no and but a lot? And I do it too, by the way. Even though I've been doing improv for more than 30 years, okay, I am still a person who observes myself every day. I'm not like suddenly, we're human here, right? We're all
Yes,
human.
and
Yes, and so I'm observing myself all the time. And when we get into moods, we get annoyed, right? Don't we? We walk through the day, we got to keep an eye on that. And what improv has done for me is I get a little more playful with myself when I do get annoyed. I want to tell you I love this story about road rage. And I do have, and then I'll talk to David, and I do have a fun exercise as well for us to close.
We got can we go 5 minutes, Lori, like till 12:05?
Yeah, like we could go 12:05 for sure, because then we have another webinar starting
Okay.
at 12:15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Sorry.
Good to know. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Okay, this will be very quick, 30 seconds. I just want to say I was riding my bicycle and I also drive cars. And in this case, I was driving my bicycle and some guy in a car cut me off. And my first reaction was, I'm mad about that. And then, so he saw my expression. I went like this and he went like this, and it was going to be a fight. And then instead I defaulted to my improv technique and I laughed. And you know what happened? He laughed. And then we laughed, gave each other a thumbs up and went on our ways. Okay. And I say this because look at, how easy it is to get into road rage or whatever, right? So how you respond can shift how other people respond. And these are the kinds of techniques that improv can teach you. And I just thought I'd mention that. Now, I'd like to give just a few minutes for David to wrap up and ask any questions.
I got a couple, and I talked to you before today about this. So, and it's about not trying so hard. And sometimes in business, I feel with improv, we can be in the flow state. We can be in collaboration. We want to be listening. We want to be taking it all in. We want to be in the moment, like literally in the moment, and be mindful. But my teacher and my instructor in the first improv course I took said, don't try so hard to be funny.
Oh, yes.
Don't try and be funny. What do you think she meant by that? And
Oh,
is it about allowing rather than controlling interactions with others, be it on stage or in business or with our friends or family? What's your take? Is it about allowing? And what do you think she meant by don't try and be funny?
Actually, I'm very familiar with that question and that response from facilitators and teachers as a person who's both taken a lot of classes and taught a lot of classes myself. So what I would say is when people are, so you might show up for comedy improv and think, I need to be funny, right? It's in your head. I need to be funny. And what the teacher is letting you know is actually, you just need to be yourself. You just need to be authentically yourself. And that'll be funnier than trying to be funny. And it is. And it's more fun. It's more collaborative. So what happens when someone shows up and tries to be funny in performance and in teamwork, right, is they are showing their ego a little bit, right? They're showing, look at me. They're showing, look how funny I am. I'm not really a group player here. I'm the funny one for everyone to look at. Now you're not collaborating, right? Now you're not giving and taking. Now you're like, it's kind of a look at me. And I see that with seasoned performers who have kind of, they're kind of getting into their ego a little bit and, have that look at me type of approach. Whereas what you want to do is put your attention on the other people. And I definitely, like, I feel really bonded with all of you through this scenario. I'm not thinking of what we're, how I look. I'm totally thinking of how I can make this a fun, collaborative, playful experience for you. So if I showed up, just imagine if I showed up and started making jokes, now you're talking about stand-up comedy. And that's a solo endeavor. Improv is a collaborative team endeavor. So you might think of it that way as well. Stand-up comedy, look at me. That's one person. Improv, it's a team skill. Yes, Sephora.
How do you spell improv?
IMPROV.
Oh, okay, thank you.
We got about 2 minutes left. And I want to do a quick thing with you, Tracy.
Okay.
And that's, we're going to talk in the form of a question, okay?
Okay.
Questions in business and just in our, knowing of situations is really important. It's really important to ask good questions of our clients, or maybe a friend who's having a tough time. Hey, what's going on? What's happening with you? How can I help? Right? So the art of asking questions is really important in business. I know when I meet a client for the first time, that's what I do. I go in and I sit with them and I ask questions. What's going on? How can we help you? What are your goals? Right? So are you okay to do a little little questioning thing?
We could do, the 20 seconds, because I know I'm mindful
and then
respectful.
we'll take any last questions from them. Okay, so do you want me to start?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know it's raining?
Who said it's raining?
Well, who wants to know?
What do you mean by that, David?
Do I bring an umbrella?
How do you know it's raining? We could stop there. You know what?
The fun of the weather forecast.
You know what the fun of that exercise is actually when people get it wrong. That's the fun of it, because then, that's what people want to see in that exercise is you do the questions as long as you can. And it's part of the fun is getting it wrong. So yeah, it's a good one.
It's also rewiring your brain and how we normally think, right? We don't talk in the form of a question, but try it with a friend later tonight or this weekend or something at Easter dinner and just see how long you can go. It's really challenging. Talking about questions, we got about 30 seconds left. Any last questions from the group?
Yeah, use the word no at Easter dinner. No, no, I'm not passing the hand. No.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Sephora. Well, happy Easter to everybody. I would say yes and Paolo,
right.
at Easter dinner. Do you want the ham? Yes, and the stuffing too. you know.
The
Where
la-
do we reach you, Tracy, to work with you or get to know more about you?
I put my website in the chat, and anyone who wants to add me on LinkedIn or keep in touch with me or ask me any questions, you can certainly do so, and I'll throw my email in there as well. And I'm available for any conversations or questions about improv.
Excellent. What a joy. There's Tracy's email and also her website. Thank you, everybody. Especially thank you, Lori, for being open-minded and we're trying new things. The last 2 sessions we're doing these interviews.
Yeah, they were very good.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you so much, David, for this. And thank you, Tracy. Really appreciate it. A lot of laughs and a lot of learning. And thanks everybody for joining us. Really appreciate it. So wishing everybody a happy Easter and rest of a good week for the rest coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Pleasure
you.
to meet everyone. Thank you, Lori.
Thanks,
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day.
That was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, it was. Thank you, Trace.